It's 2:01 on Monday, February the 2nd. This is a meeting of the Infrastructure Task Force Advisory Committee. If we could call the roll, please.
Mr. Angeli?
Here.
Mr. Barnett?
Here.
Mr. Blansky? Ms. Ritzko? Here. Mr. Walters?
Here.
Ms. Way? Mr. Zeltman?
Here.
And Chair Party?
Here. So we have a quorum. So with that said, we can move to the first item, which is the approval of today's agenda. Need a motion to approve that.
Mr. Chair.
With or without alterations.
Move to approve the agenda for today.
Second.
Motion, we have a second. Any changes to the agenda anybody wants? If not, all those in favour of the agenda as it stands, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Next item is approval of previous meeting minutes of January the 5th, 2026. Need a motion, or do I need a motion first, Roosevelt, before we can discuss?
Yes.
Need a motion to approve those with or without changes.
Move to approve with or without corrections.
A motion by Roosevelt, seconded by Ralph. Any discussion, changes, anybody sees in the minutes? If not,
Wow.
need a motion to approve the minutes as written. We need a motion. We have a motion. So I need all those in favour of the minutes as they stand, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. List. Item 2, old business, list of ongoing capital projects. So we have in the packet first cut of what we requested. So thanks staff for that. It seems pretty comprehensive to me. What we requested. Any comments on that as it stands? Is this what particularly Greg was looking to say? Let me just get Neil wanted to say something first.
Yeah, so this is a list of projects that we compiled based on the feedback on the discussion that we had on our last meeting. So what we anticipate doing moving forward is identify what those projects are, so that way we can continue to provide that comprehensive update in writing. I was talking to staff, and what we would aim to do is to try to provide these comprehensive updates to everyone at least 2 weeks in advance to the meeting. So that way, at least a week in advance, once the agenda publishes, if there's any particular project that we would like to discuss and further, you guys will let us know. So as we can see here, some of these projects are not within the Public Works Department, so we would have to coordinate with those departments, so that way we can ensure that we have either the project manager here to answer any specific questions, and any discussions that we may have on that particular project. So again, our goal would be to provide these updates in writing 2 weeks in advance, so that we give you guys enough time to review them. And if you guys would like to go into a little bit more in depth or something that you guys do not see, let us know at least a week in advance, so that way we can have the proper staff here to present. That way, we had that discussion. It was a little bit it was mentioned at the last city commission meeting about all the staff that attend these meetings. So that way we can try to minimize that and only have the staff here that would be, required to have a robust discussion.
Greg?
No, I was checking to see if all the projects we raised were captured. They are, and you gave us a lot more data than back than I was expecting. I'm still, as an old project manager, I'm always looking for on time, on budget data, right? And where are we? Are we hitting any roadblocks? And this looks like a great start. I guess one of the questions I have are there any, what you would consider big project or project categories that aren't captured here that you're working on?
Well, that's I can only speak for Public Works. There's a lot of projects that we have. We have over 150 projects that we're working on, but what I can say, the key takeaways that we have are, of course, Lauderdale, in different phases, a lot of those projects in different phases. Victoria Park is one of them that already recently started construction. Others were finalizing design, others were pending, the geo bond to be issued later this year to initiate the design and initiate the construction of Melrose Manor and Riverland, which has been an ongoing discussion.
So what type of project is that?
That would be underground infrastructure, that's stormwater.
Stormwater, okay.
Then we also have a few with the consent orders, that's my other big category, that we have I-9. But once we establish the new scope under the new board, that could be primarily one of those first discussions that we can have. We can look perhaps at all the projects that we have, divide them categories. We have a lot of bridges that require replacement, a lot of seawalls in different stages. So we can, my recommendation would be to wait until the board is established, and the scope of work, the scope of that board be clearly defined. And that way we could have kind of like a workshop or strategy session where we identify those high level projects, and then we can work on those.
So, at the record show, that Lindsay Wade joined us. So, yeah, a couple of things. What Neil says may have to be, or will likely be repeated at the first meeting, assuming it's approved, the infrastructure board, but presumably some of us will be on that board. That's the first thing. And the second thing Neil touched on, and we'll get into it in depth when we come to the scope of the board, is there is something like the, where is it? Something like the police department, I think, is going to be outside the scope of the board. So, and I'm loath to push that as a thing that we should in any way be involved in, because it was clear to me the Commission didn't want us involved unless they requested our involvement. And the same thing, I think, can be said for City Hall. When we discuss this, as I said, under the scope, but this list will certainly need to be revisited next time by the new board to see if there are things that are outside the scope. Ralph?
That's too bad about the police and the city hall, because having done the inspection of the old police station, which, by the way, got demolished January the 14th. It's a shame that we can't follow through on that collectively and see that the new facility coming in to replace it. But they're the bosses; they decide what's what, and we go from there.
Well, Mr. Chair, have they said they didn't want us involved?
Well, I'll give two answers to that. The first answer is at the last Commission conference meeting, I think it was the last one, the manager said something to the effect of, we feel, and we've drafted the scope, this is to the Commission that you'll see soon, that the infrastructure task force should be predominantly involved in underground infrastructure and water, sewer. That's one answer. And the second answer, if I go back 3 or 4 years, the then infrastructure task force drafted a pretty all-encompassing scope. And I can remember the commission saying, this is a lot of work, and it's really a lot of it is what we intend to do. So I'm definitely of the view that they don't want us involved in major projects like the City Hall and the police station unless they request it. Neil, would you agree with that
Yeah,
statement?
that was a pretty good summary. The only thing that I would add is, if I recall correctly, Commissioner Sorensen emphasized Fortified Lauderdale, so a lot of the focus of the board would be more so on the underground infrastructure, predominantly on stormwater to ensure that we stay on time and on budget, like Mr. Barnett said. Again, that doesn't mean that at the request of the city manager or at the request of the city commission, we can add other projects that are outside of that scope. And we could go into a little bit more detail in that. There's a clause or there's a section in the city code, the proposed ordinance, that allows for that to happen. However, we want to, I believe the direction that we want to go to is to ensure that our underground infrastructure, it will be the primary goal.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think, Roosevelt, it's breaking your heart hearing that you're not going to be involved.
It's not breaking my heart, but it concerns me when we start to minimize the oversight. That what bothers me. But I got other avenues to oversee.
I believe utilities and stormwater, that's never-ending issues. So
I agree.
underground infrastructure, it's going to keep us busy for the next years to come. And I think it's, I appreciate that now it's clearly, so we actually can focus on those matters versus, City Hall, Police Department, because we're getting spread too thin. So I do appreciate that we have some kind of guidelines. And that's facility management, police station or fire station or City Hall, they're just facilities. And I appreciate we have guidelines from the commissioners where we should focus on. Speaking of that, Othniel,
Yes.
the consent order item 3B, you're saying existing wastewater consent, A, 3A, new water consent order, and you're saying you attach the city manager a memo, or staff memo, description of milestones. I don't see that attached.
My apologies. We could definitely ensure that to everybody via email.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So maybe next, you can send an email, because I believe that's the milestones that the guidelines was supposed to be accomplished, what the city agreed to do.
It's an old memo from the January 6th commission meeting.
Okay, excellent. So this way we know where we need to focus. That's the milestones they need to accomplish.
And that new water consent order, is that a renegotiation of an existing consent order with various things added to it? I'm getting really confused about this.
No, I'll talk about that. Albert Carmen, Utilities Director. It's a new consent order. It builds upon the old closed-out consent order. We're required to do more engineering studies. The first step is to do an engineering report, identifying the needs of the infrastructure. The second is to build about our city works or GIS database to identify all the pipes in the city and what the size, age, and types are, and then to ultimately build a CIP program to help to replace those older deficient pipes that need to be replaced due to age and materials.
Okay.
But it's definitely a new consent order,
Yeah.
not no.
So Chair, there was a consent order issued in September last year, but the city was negotiating the milestones, what they can do, what they cannot do. That was due to boil water notices.
Yes.
That was extended.
But that's not this one, right?
That's this one. That's the new water, correct?
No, that's new one. It could be about that. I'm not sure, but we did get approved by City Commission early January. We're expecting the final executed consent order this week or next week.
So how many consent orders do we still have open that the city is working on, including this one, I guess?
So the first water consent order is closed. The existing wastewater consent order has been amended twice. We are working on whether it's going to be amended third time or a new consent order. That will be, we're still negotiating with DEP about that. There's one issue left to be resolved. We're hoping to get that to commission March, April, or by the end of spring this year, 2026. That's going to be more the I&I concerns that you're talking about. So we have an open wastewater one. We got I guess a second amendment to the existing one, which is one that we have yet to execute. We have one water one.
So that's 3 in total that are.
That's right, and the existing wastewater one is due to be completed in March of 2027. I think all projects are online to be completed by that date.
So it's one each, one for water, one for wastewater. The wastewater is pending and the city keeps amending.
There's a third one.
Stormwater,
The stormwater?
I don't know.
No.
I don't think there's not a stormwater consent order.
No, there's a one for water, one for wastewater, but the wastewater it's keep amendments. Correct.
The one they amended.
But it's the same number, it's the same consent
Same
order.
number, but it's a new water number.
Yes.
Oh.
So that's what I'm saying. It's one for water, one for wastewater.
Correct.
One is due to boil water notices, as I recall that back in September was issued by DEP. There was some negotiations going, couple of months, and you're correct. You're probably bringing this to Commissioner early this year. But the old one is the wastewater, which is the 2016, I believe. As you see, the first 16 number, that indicates the year of that consent order. So the 24 for the water was issued September.
16.
Yes, so and this old one, wastewater, we keep kind of amending because we cannot meet the deadline, the projects are in place. So the DEP lets the city
And
amend.
this new amendment is adding to it. It's not that we haven't failed to do anything. They're adding additional requirements.
Wow.
And who's adding, DEP? Okay, so that's probably in lieu of some incompliance during, I don't believe they can just add.
That's why we were, DEP was trying to define whether it was going to be stop the existing one and issue a new one
Or
or
just
amend
keep
the
adding.
existing one. So,
Okay.
and that's really their call as far as I'm concerned.
Got it.
I kind of like keep adding, this way it looks better on your rating agency when we going for the bond. Then we have only one consent order versus 3 for wastewater, right?
Anyway,
So,
The important thing about both of them, they're building upon the existing one. They're not,
okay, thank you.
My question is, if they continue to add to, how are we keeping track of what's being added and what's being completed? How will we know as a board, as a committee?
From my understanding, the way the new wastewater consent order, it has a complete different timeline. So the existing consent order, unless we choose to have to amend that to change the timeline, that's all due March 2027.
What? That doesn't make a whole lot of
Well,
sense.
that's why we asked DEP, the same question I say, should we issue a new one or not? And they're saying that.
I mean, that's kind of good as far as us not having to rush to get something done. But it's not good if it is something that need to be done.
Well,
That's my question. If you're gonna, something that we should have completed, let's say, July of 26, and then they stretched the deadline for everything until 27, I mean, it's forced, I wouldn't say forced, it's allowing you to not get work done that should be done.
Well, that's not the intent. And if you look at the consent orders, and since we've been reading them a lot, each consent order has several milestones within them.
Right.
And if you don't meet one milestone, you have to amend it. You can't just say we're going to move it to a second. So that's an amendment. The current consent order amendment says all the projects in the existing one need to be done March 2027. This new amendment one will add additional projects and we'll put milestones on those projects, but it will not, it doesn't modify the existing milestones within the consent order. Is that kind of better say? So we're not extending anything that's in the existing milestones within the existing.
So Roosevelt, I think the way it's being tracked is we'll have new milestones. So as you can see.
Additional milestones.
Additional. So like, right now, we're saying 71 and 76 milestones are completed. Once we get the new wastewater infrastructure, just making numbers up, we may now have like 81 milestones. So that's a way internally we can track where we're at by how successful we are at meeting the milestones. And they'll have different deliverables for each milestone.
I'm not good, but I'm going to stop.
Okay. Well, I think once we get the consent order and get it to commission and then you get to read it, you'll see how it's the timelines are laid out. And then you'll see it's a series of timelines.
Okay.
And you'll see everything existing has these dates, and then those dates are March 2027, and then the new one has dates beyond that.
Okay.
But nothing above the line is being modified.
Okay.
Just that you're adding to your to-do list, if you would.
Okay.
So that'd be a better way. We're adding to our to-do list.
Thank you.
Okay, so any more on this item to do with project milestones? The way I think, what I think is going to happen is that Neil is going to put this on the agenda for the first meeting for the board and hopefully updated, and then it will be discussed by that board against the approved scope of the board, which we're going to come to next. So with that said, I would like to move.
I've got one thing to make.
Oh, sorry.
I think we brought up, underwater treatment, just put a line for the new water meter deployment project. AMI.
You'd like that reported upon?
Well, we did discuss it
We did.
and.
The MAI?
AMI.
AMI. The new water meters?
Yeah.
We got that. You'd like that reported upon?
Yeah,
Percentage
because I think
of it,
that
yeah.
in particular will be something that our member constituents will be asking us about. You know,
I know at least one neighbourhood where they're being actively installed and been in operation for a while.
right,
We have a lot of neighbourhoods, of course.
right. I sort of want to know, like, what's it doing to their, what will happen to the average for their bills? Do the same go up? What new capabilities do they? I think they have new capabilities. They could turn off the water.
Well, I can tell you as a foretaste that what I've been told, based on a limited sample, is the average water bills or the average consumption is up about 10%. Doesn't mean that consumption is really up. It means due to the accuracy of measurement, it's showing an increase, a slight increase on the numbers from the past or with the old technology. But that's just a one-off statement on a limited sample, so that could change.
So anyway, I think that would be a good project for us to sort of stay abreast on. And then when I'm scanning the notes on previous responsibilities of the board, this group, in previous times they had said our role was to highlight infrastructure, I'm going to paraphrase it, infrastructure bottlenecks or limits associated with new construction and to stay in sync with the planning and zoning, the planning, right? Since I've been here, we've not done that.
No, was that was in a previous, every time we got reactivated for 2 years, usually they slightly changed the scope. So was that a previous, in
Yeah, it
a
looked like
previous scope that you found?
2017 and then 2020.
Oh, well,
So, and we could go into a little bit more detail in that, as part of the ordinance, but one of the attachments is the memo. And the memo goes it's very detailed as to, the responsibilities of the committee once it was first instituted and every amendment that occurred and any addition that was added. I don't believe a couple times there were additional responsibilities that were added to it when it was extended. But all that information is there in the memo.
So I see that at one time, this group thought they were responsible for staying in sync with, communicating to the planning and zoning board about infrastructure limitations.
yes, there was, I do remember that vaguely. I'm not sure we ever did that. Well, I think that might have been, it is a context possibly of that. One of the first iterations was charged with looking into the viability of doing, what's it called, a moratorium on, and that was a responsibility. And so that was like a one-off thing, and we did do a report on that, and it was resolved, if you like. And with a thing like that, it was more necessary that we understood what developments were being approved. So they have amended these scopes and given us different tasks going along. And one of the attachments, in addition to the manager's memo and the draft ordinance, is actually a screenshot of the page on the city's website as to what the scope of the infrastructure task force is. I just put it there because basically it's somewhat out of date, but that's what shows on the website. So interesting.
So my question is, I do think highlighting infrastructure bottlenecks associated with new development is an important task, right? So, maybe we could do that in a future meeting as a subject where we talk about how the infrastructure engineering groups communicate or get communicated with
The board
permitting department.
The board can revisit this.
Yeah.
But through going through this process for years, here is what I have learned. The assumption is that if you are going to when you zone a city for certain sorts of development, the assumption is that the way that you are zoning it, you have the infrastructure in place to handle that.
Right.
Now that is debatable, may or may not be true, but the problem is to legally fight it out. That is the presumption on which the law governing this is based. Because, again, in a previous iteration, we kind of fought the issue of approval where, there might be a known condition issue. But unless the development, which is asking for approval, caused the condition issue, you can't condition it on that. So that's a simplified overview of what I've found out.
And I would not think that this group would say you should not do any kind of project. I would not say we should stop it. We should just highlight and say, you want to do this development, there's not enough water going to that place. So somebody's going to need to plan for that.
That's exactly right. In other words, if the treatment plant can't handle the added or new capacity, then, that has to be taken into account.
Or sewer or stormwater, like all the things we look at, all the underground.
Quickly, staff does do that. Marta?
Thank you, Chair. And I agree with you, staff does this. This is the availability letters that they being issued to developers. I think we don't have a knowledge what's the current capacity in the plants, and the staff, so the developers requesting for availability letter for the capacity, either water or wastewater, pending location, they kind of say the project, if they have how many ERCs, which is the units, residential units or commercial units, how much water they needed or sewer, and that letter is getting issued by the utilities department. So it's getting so that's controlled by utilities department. They're not gonna give a letter to the developer if they cannot accommodate, they cannot provide sanitation and drinking water. And I think we're crossing a line here. It's not our responsibility, approvals or not. But what we can do, we may monitor and help the department to see, are we 90% capacity? Should we be planning for expansion? Should we be budgeting for additional sites? So that's what I would agree with you, Greg, that may be something with, how many of those availability letters has been issued, because I understand they're pending until the developers pays the impact fees. When the moment when they pay, they lock in, right? So maybe we can help organize how to monitor the capacity for the water and wastewater.
We have looked at that in the
We
past.
have.
We've had several
Oh,
presentations
It was before us.
on particularly the capacity of GTL to handle the
Yeah.
current and future, sewerage load.
But maybe that's something what we could monitor monthly, and maybe we could say, okay, there was 5 requests are pending, and we come in close, or maybe annually, right? Like we don't need to be so specific every month, but maybe annually we come in close to our full capacity. That helps us planning for the next years, next 5, 10
We looked
years.
at it fairly regularly because there was a point in time where it appeared that GTL was getting close to its capacity. But suffice it to say, that is no longer the case. So I don't feel it, from the numbers I've seen, I don't feel it's necessary to look at this very regularly. But
Well, it depends from the rain, Chair. If it's raining, we come in close,
yes,
I'm sure.
Correct. That's correct.
That's pending weather condition. But I would like to see something, but I think we could discuss this when
Yeah,
we.
all
The
right.
future, right? The idea is just to have a future meeting where we talk about that process.
Yeah.
And maybe how all that information ties into city works, right? That would be the place to put that information. No?
No.
Not capacity.
Capacity, no? It's too dynamic?
Outside the scope, city works more just assets, we have so much,
Okay.
1,000 feet of pipe of this material, of this age, that type of stuff.
Okay.
But that is
So it
something
doesn't work as a
that
management.
we do monitor, that there's a group within Public Works that reviews all the new permit applications that come into the city, where we do our modeling and we ensure that we have adequate capacity in our systems. And that's something that both the city engineer and myself are actively looking at. We're always raising the flag if our systems, our sewer pump stations are at capacity in a certain basin and we need to create a new one. There's gonna be a discussion most likely at February 17 in this particular area where we have that need specifically because we're near there. And there's a number of developments that either have been approved or in the process of getting approved that once those developments come online, there could be a potential issue. So those are things that we're monitoring already, and we'd be more than happy to, to share that information so you guys are aware.
Yeah.
Perhaps something that we can do, biannually or quarterly. But yeah, it's just a matter of how we present that information to you guys and how we make it accessible to you guys.
And also, do we issue viability letters associated with stormwater? Because that seems to be a huge challenge.
Not necessarily
Availability,
with not with stormwater, it's more so
buildings.
capacity, or what I call capacity letters with water.
Capacity for water and sewer, right?
Except you have a standard of a rainfall intensity.
Correct, yes.
That they have to demonstrate that they meet on the site or elsewhere, somewhere else.
Yeah.
So they don't need to redesign or develop.
Correct.
So they have to
Manage their
water
own,
and
they
whatever,
need to manage their own water.
I take exception to that. I think that we have some old design storm drains that are nothing more than holding tanks as opposed to exfiltration and positive drainage methods that are commonly used. And I'm bringing attention to Imperial Point, where they have so many holding tanks, and we've had it on Imperial Point Drive. Finally, one year, was, complaining about it, that this doesn't meet the South Florida Water Management District requirements, And they did convert one of the holding tanks. It was at Imperial Point Drive and Northeast 22nd Avenue. They put one in that essentially was exfiltration type, and the other three catch basins at that intersection were tied in, and so now the flooding has disappeared. But you have other areas where you have that
Yes.
holding tanks that need to be looked at and something done because.
I mean, I think they are doing that with the projects they have. going
Okay,
on.
I just want to emphasize that's important to take care of.
All this stuff is constantly changing. They're constantly putting new buildings, constantly putting concrete where there was grass. You know, it's just, I don't know how to get ahead of it, but, you know, we know the problem when all of our roads flood, so.
Well, what I would like to do really is, since the big item on the agenda, and we're sort of touching on it peripherally, is the scope of the new board. You know, I would really like to move to that, so we get that taken care of today, please. Okay, so the draft ordinance is attached, and as what Neil said in the covering memo, it's all the previous actions and scopes of the task force, and the just read to you from the ordinance what I think is the key part, and that is section 259, purpose and duties. Purpose and duties of the infrastructure advisory board shall be as follows: to review existing infrastructure, including stormwater infrastructure, water and wastewater, sewer, distribution, collection systems, seawalls, roads and sidewalks, and to seek input from members of the public interested in infrastructure improvements, and to provide a report with recommendations to the City Commission regarding improvement priorities as well as financing alternatives for said improvements, and to evaluate and provide a recommendation on specific matters requested by the City Commission or City Manager. Now, I have some changes that I'd like to propose to that, but before I do that, I'd like to hear what other people think of the scope as written.
Chair,
Yes.
two things. I do have a few notes to the ordinance, but before we do that, I would like for the committee, I have a guest person that's sitting over there. Her name is Rhonda Ware, former employee of the city, and if everything go right, she's also my replacement.
Oh.
And I know she's gonna be at this meeting and the next meeting. And I want to let staff know that you need a parking permit so you don't have to pay to get out of here. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'm going to start off, and some of these may be somewhat repetitive as I go through this, but I'm going to go down to the whereas that's
So now you're on the draft ordinance and you're in the whereas section, is that right?
Just, Mr. Chair, I just want to point something out,
Yeah.
that the draft ordinance that was shared via email originally, there were some edits made to it, so if you guys want to make any comments to it, please refer to the one that you guys picked up when you first got here. Because there were some changes made to the one that we shared, that was shared with you, Mr. Chair, and the one that we actually discussed at commission a couple weeks ago. So There was edits being made to the draft ordinance up until it was published.
Yes.
In the city commission agenda.
So I think the section I just read
No,
is
you're
verbatim
factually
from
what
the
you're
current
right. Correct.
edition.
Yes, that's correct.
So I've got, or just when you're ready.
Just a moment, Roosevelt, did you want to go to the whereases?
Yes, and I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, to the seventh whereas. And again, now, my edit was made to the first one, and I didn't see the second one until now. So it is difficult for me to make edits to the final, I guess that's what we call it, the final draft.
This is the final draft that has been presented.
Okay.
The final draft, yes, because it's still a draft.
But it's on the commission agenda.
Yes,
This
this is the one that was published.
Okay, so if I happen to mention one and it's already been corrected, just say that's done. And I'm starting there.
Which whereas clause do you say?
Let's start it, the whereas number 6.
Okay.
And it's the whereas on January 22nd, 2025, the city commission adopted resolution 2512, which amended resolution number 1746 to extend the term of the infrastructure task force committee with the February 18th termination date. And the reason I'm looking at that particular one is that I know we are trying to get that date extended. So if somebody can tell me whether or not it's been extended, so that the public hearings or whatever they're gonna have on it will go beyond February 18th.
Correct.
So that, because if not, we're not gonna have a meeting next time.
So with the timeline that we're on now, and we had a conversation earlier before the meeting started, with the timeline that we are now, we're going to first reading tomorrow, which is February 3rd. If the commission approves the ordinance on first reading, second reading would be on February 17th. So the intent is if the ordinance gets approved on first reading, and then we go to second reading on the 17th, there's also gonna be a companion item. It's gonna be a resolution.
Right.
Where the city commission would also appoint all its members to the board, to the new board on the 17th.
Wow.
So, which means that if that happens, if we follow that timeline and we stay on track, then theoretically speaking, we could have the first board meeting in March. So there would not be
Okay.
a break in between.
All right.
Now, should we not approve on first reading on the 3rd, then we can have that conversation where we could potentially have a potential extension of the committee beyond the 18th. But as of right now, the timeline that we have is to not have to do an extension and instead go full onto a board.
When you say we, you mean if the commission doesn't approve the first reading?
Correct. If it doesn't approve first reading, or if you guys have what I call substantial material changes that you guys would like to make to the draft ordinance as it is, that may require additional conversation, whether it be with city staff or at the city commission, then that may delay that process and that timeline. So if that was to be the case, then we could explore the extension of the committee. But right now, we're trying to avoid that with the time that we have, and we shouldn't require or shouldn't need an extension because we would be aboard for the March.
Unless we have the way I see it, unless we have a significant philosophical difference, for example, on our getting more involved in major projects like the police station and the city hall. That would be something which I'm not sure the commission would agree to changes to this scope, with things like that added.
Okay, we'll see later. My next was a question on whereas number 7. And,
So such board, is that the one?
yes. And my question when we said, the purpose of such a board, I'm assuming, because it's not stated anywhere else, that's referring back to the head of the ordinance, right? In the head, it states, and duties of the board, so when it says as the board, I'm assuming that's what we're referring back to without really saying that.
Yeah, the new, when it says the purpose of such board, we're referring to the new board that would be created, which is to continue the work of the committee
Yes.
that you are doing now.
Okay.
So it's just, in other words, it's really, changing the name from a committee to a board, but the work shall continue, or should continue.
Yeah, and I just wanna make sure, when we referring to something, the something that we are referring to actually exists. And using the large caption up here, where it also says board, I'm hoping that number 7 is referring to that word right there. You understand?
Yes.
Everybody
I
understand
think
that?
it does, I'm pretty sure it does.
Yes, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah.
So that, God, see, I'm used to being in lawsuits and all that other stuff. And I just like to be clear on what it is that we're talking about all the time. You hear me say, when I leave the meeting, I want everybody to understand what I said. Okay, the next whereas is number 8. And on that one, after it says, the end of it said, the best interest of the city. I think perhaps, and this is just me, that we not only just say the city, but the city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. You know.
It is ordinance for Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It is the city of Fort Lauderdale.
And again, if we are referring back to that city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, then I'm okay with it.
Yes, there's no other city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Well, but there is other cities. See, it stops with the word city.
Yeah, but if you look at the title,
Yeah, that's what I said.
it's tying together.
If we're gonna refer back to the title,
Correct.
then I'm good with it.
Yes.
Like I said, I just don't want anybody messing with me on this. And under 257, A, there is hereby established an infrastructure advisory board for the city of Fort Lauderdale, and again, Florida, and I know it is. Maybe there is another Fort Lauderdale somewhere. I just want to make sure we're talking about this one. And under C, it says the board shall consist of 11 members appointed by resolution to the commission, who shall serve 1 year. That's a problem.
Oh, yes.
That's a problem, y'all. I'm telling you right now, that's a problem.
Yes, that seems to have been lifted from something, I didn't notice
I
that.
don't know where it's lifted from, but it's a problem.
So that is consistent with the language
Other boards.
of the committee, of this committee, and also it refers back to when I had the same conversation with our city attorney's office, and it refers back to another section of the code where it establishes the length of time that a member can participate on a board. So that's still consistent, like you said, on this RESCO,
Yes.
with the other boards that we have in our city.
So no member of any other board serve more than 1 year.
I
I shouldn't
cannot
say serve
firmly,
it more than
No.
1
I
year.
cannot
Is-
firmly.
It doesn't mean you can only serve 1 year.
I know,
It'd be
but
reappointed
you
every
got to be
year.
reappointed every year.
Yes.
Correct.
That's a problem.
Well, that apparently, I didn't realise this, that's the case for all the boards.
That's what's been happening.
I've been trying to verify that and I couldn't find the wording to all the boards.
Can you state, this is Troy Geis, can you state what your concern is?
My concern is by the time you get a good committee together and they are not reappointed, then the next committee got to start all over on everything.
But there's not.
Let me just point it to you.
Yep.
The same thing we went through with this board when we were supposed to go away after a year, after 18 months, I think we was appointed, and then we was reappointed, and then we had a time when 4 members of the board were gonna leave at the same time, as it would be with February the 18th, everybody would be gone. So, and if you take, and on that committee, some of us had been there for years already, and if you take off the majority of the people who've been on the board is gone, it hampers your ability to continue.
Yeah, if the membership turns over frequently. However, there's nothing in here that states a term limit for a member. And what happens here is that this gives the commission the opportunity, if they select somebody for any board and that person doesn't show up to meetings, isn't participating, all that things, then that gives an opportunity for them at not more than 1 year to be able to appoint somebody else.
But they can do that. They can do that. If you give them a 10-year term, they don't show up for a meeting, you still can get rid of them.
Go ahead.
So this is the section of the code right now. It's section 2-219, rules governing board and committee appointments. So right now, as I said earlier, the term of appointment, that's 2-219B. 1, it says all appointees to any city board shall unless otherwise specified be appointed for a term of appointment of 1 year and without compensation. And then under B D, it says limitation of number of consecutive terms. No person appointed by the city commission to serve on a city board may serve more than 6 consecutive 1-year terms, 3 consecutive 2-year terms, or 2 consecutive 3 or 4-year terms on such board. So in essence, a member can serve
I
up
understand
to
that.
6 years.
6 years, that's the end of it, even though some of us been on this one since 18, and that's more than 6 years, but
Committees are different.
the problem, you see, it gives you the option of 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. And why we should tie everybody going off the board after 1 year. If for instance, Sorensen, when he came on as a commission, he got rid of all his board members. And just so happened, I don't think he had anybody on this one. But if everybody did that, then your whole board would be gone, and you would have nobody to continue the work of the board previously. That's my problem. My thing that you put them on no less than 2 years and then stagger the terms, so that everybody don't have to leave the board at the same time.
I got something to say on that, but
But then
let's
again,
move it to.
also, your term of appointment begins, your 1-year term begins when you are appointed. So not everybody, obviously now, if all of you were to get appointed to the board, you would all have the same term, or your appointment would begin at the same term. But once that happens, not everybody should, circumstances change, so appointments will be coming, as the year progresses. So it's not by fiscal year, it's not by calendar year, it's by the moment, by the point in time when you get appointed. That's when your 1 year begins.
So
theoretically
just
speaking, everybody
quickly,
should be on the same.
just quickly, and then it's Marta. This is the same, I now understand, for all the boards. So I don't think we can really fight this or oppose it in any way. This is not a hill on which we can die, Marta?
Sure we can.
Thank you, Chair. We get it, Roosevelt. Okay.
But-
So, Roosevelt, now I'm talking.
Yeah, but unless the chair tell me I can't put forth no more changes.
No, I'll come
No,
back to you.
hold on, we're back to you. So let me just say
everybody.
that, because
Okay.
you're right, Roosevelt, thank you for pointing this out, because what Othniel just read, I think we both right. He just read there is a language in our current ordinance that we just gonna be treated as the same board as every other board in the city. Parks and Recreation, Budget, Advisory Board, Planning and Zoning, fine. Why? But as it's written right now, it says for 1 year term, period. So this board, I actually think it's in a conflict of the current ordinance, because the ordinance says that could be 2 years, could be 3 years, pending of the decision of the commissioner. So I think why we,
Where does it say that?
in a section C, 257. So I think you're right, because we're limiting ourselves to the 1 year period here, when our ordinance allows us, as every other board, to be 2 years or 3 years. So I think that's, in this
it's
point,
a
that shouldn't even
clarification.
mention. Why we're limiting and mentioning you guys for 1 year only, and everybody else could be 2-3 years. I agree with you. We should be treated as every other board. So let's exclude that language, and then it's consistent with our current ordinance. If they decided for us to be 10 years as the ordinance and every board member, then we don't have that, because by putting here, you're eliminating our opportunities later and be treated equally as every other board.
So that, I see that more as a clarification, which is point for taken. I did raise that concern with the city attorney's office, and I was reassured that the section that I just read was the section that would be applicable to this board, and they didn't have a concern. I would definitely bring that back to them.
Thank you.
To see how we can further clarify, perhaps referring back to the section.
Correct. Just-
Further, because this is all under the same article, this is all under the same section of the code. So perhaps it's just a matter of referring back to
Perfect.
above that.
And that would be good, because this way we all feeling
clear.
like we treated the same way.
I think though in the enabling ordinance for the board that you have to specify the term for the board. So I think O'Neill goes back to legal, we need something from the board saying we rather be two, whatever.
I think what she's referring to is.
We don't have a preference, because the commissioner may decide that.
206, yeah. I think the reason, and if I remember correctly, the conversation, as I read on the code, and this goes back to both the conversations you were having, it's 6 years total that you can work.
Right.
In the board.
Right.
You can either have 6 1-year terms, you could either have 3 2-year terms, or you could have 3 2-year terms.
No,
No,
2,
2,
3.
2 3-year terms.
Yes.
So what that language is specifying by saying the 1 year is that you would fall into the first category.
Correct.
And you'd be 6 1-year terms. So it's just a matter of clarifying it.
Yes, and I'm glad that you see that, and I agree with you. There would be just easier reference to the section.
Yeah.
And this way, if that section changed, we would be also affected, because right now we kind of have a set in a stance. We're gonna be in a 1 year only, right? And this way, give us, just equal treatment. So I think we're good with the C. I do have a question to the section B, the one above. That was actually my question, but I'm sorry, I have to
Okay.
resolve to
The-
Roosevelt
Go ahead.
issues.
Now we're on the
B, the board is created to review.
yes, section
57.
2
Correct.
57.
I kind of wanna, so I do read this as a water and wastewater sewer distribution and collection systems only. I don't read this as a treatment plants. So I think that's the missing, it just says water, wastewater, collection and distribution. So that's kind of pipelines, that's the linear infrastructure when I think,
I have
that
the
takes us, and
I have
that,
the same concern,
Thank
and I
you.
was going to bring it up. Again, it sort of repeats
Limits.
this in the purpose and duties that I'm doing now.
Okay, so I'm glad we agreed to that one, but I think we're missing opportunity on the actual
So is it
treatments,
specifically
odor control, stuff like that.
Treatment, right?
Correct.
It's like in the
The treatment facilities.
It says distribution and collection systems, but it should be distribution, collection and treatment systems, I think. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or
Treatment facilities, treatment plants. I mean, I'll let the staff do it.
I think I agree with what you're saying, but it seems to me that I've read the important bit, and how this is written should reflect how we finish up with that purpose and duties read out.
Okay.
But I agree, it should include treatment here, and what, was there something else?
Well, the same section also for the treatment is 2-259
I had as
A.
well.
So that's kind of the same language.
I'm
Okay,
gonna
thank you.
I'm gonna let you go on, but you're the section where I had similar comments.
Okay.
I had, what is to create to review existing city infrastructure. Yeah, that's all right, my change can come later. I read out.
257B, do we do roads? We've never had a review of anything.
Roads, yeah.
We haven't got there yet. We did a whole presentation on roads, including, the, raising the center to get a better water drainage. We got that when we were doing road, we was talking about capacity as well as not only capacity for heaviness, but capacity for, traffic, toll. Too many cars or too many trucks.
So what we envision with the roads is we just recently got issued an infrastructure bond for roads and sidewalks. So this is we felt that this would be something that we could, discuss here. Our plan to utilize those funds to rehabilitate our roadways and our sidewalks. There's also the master plan for new sidewalks that we have in the city, so this would all fall under that. As a matter of fact, we are scheduled to have a presentation on the infrastructure bond at the first meeting in March committee meeting. So we'll be providing an update on that and the plan and the limitations that we have faced and how we are planning to overcome that. So make sure that we stay on time on track with that bond. So yeah, that's what we envision with the roads, because one of our responsibilities is to rehabilitate our roadways that are maintained by the city. Okay.
I'm aware of time, and we only have an hour. So now, Marta, do you have other things?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Chair.
Greg?
No, but I haven't finished.
Yes, I know.
No.
Anybody else? Well, I have things. Anybody else on this? So,
So make sure that everybody's on board with stormwater. It does also include treatment,
yes,
and that's important.
that's what we might have just put.
Not a treatment plant, but it does have an outfall that has to follow the pollution
Exactly.
controls and
Yeah.
We
restraints.
spend a lot of time on treatment.
So we kept it as stormwater infrastructure to keep it broad. So everything that falls under stormwater, whether it be the pump station, the outfalls and everything, every component that comes into a pump station, they all come together, so all those projects. And a lot of that would come in Fortify especially under phase 2. That once we get the new bond, we'll initiate the design. So a lot of those projects, and I think we mentioned something about that with the planning boards and so on like that. We're gonna be working very closely with our DRC committee, design review committee, to ensure that we have the proper screening, the proper facade, so that way everything that falls above ground in our infrastructure, we can minimize the impact. So yeah, all of that falls under stormwater infrastructure.
Roosevelt, you're
Yeah.
on again. Oh, sorry, Lindsay?
The bond for the roads,
Yes.
is there a plan for the roads and which
There
ones?
is a plan. There was an assessment conducted in all of our roadways in the city that provided call it like a scoring on from bad
Too good, yes.
To better?
Yes, yes.
So we're definitely working on the roadways that are in worse condition. Also, one of the requirements of that bond is to spend at least minimum of $2 million per district. So we're working with that. So, but yes, there is a plan, and that plan will be shared and that presentation.
Yep.
Will that align with the stormwater trench plan to not tear up the roads and?
That is the goal. That is the goal. If obviously we don't want to, resurface a roadway where we know that we're gonna be coming in and excavating, so that is part of the coordination that we are doing.
Can we add that to the list that he has going?
Definitely.
Roosevelt.
You mean the project,
The
the
update.
roadway plan.
Yes.
I think we should add.
And the trench, like what trench is next right now for the stormwater? It was Edgewood and I don't know where they're at now and who's next.
So you want an update on phase one projects, which are there's only one neighborhood that is pending to begin construction on the phase one, all the others are phase two. Two neighborhoods, one project on phase one, and then the others are phase two, but we can give you that update.
Thank you.
There will be a presentation you said next month, so I think we can establish those
The
goals.
presentation would be on the infrastructure fund, which is for roadways and sidewalks.
Correct.
I think we're talking about the underground component, as part of Fortified Lauderdale on all the other.
Oh.
So yeah, we can.
Roosevelt.
Okay, still under 257 D, which is dealing with the makeup of the board.
D? It's not
D.
D. Oh,
Yes,
D.
there is.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's the makeup of the board, and you got 6 categories of people qualifying to be on the board. And the one that I have the problem with, I'm none of those folks except for number 6. And
Well, that's enough.
no,
You have to be all of above.
no.
It's pick one.
My problem with it, on none of the other 5 do you have to be a member of anything or anybody. But under number 6, you require me to be part of a civic association or a neighborhood homeowners association. And that's not right.
This is example.
No, so this idea is we wanna a
Sir,
board
and I
that
know
is.
I promised you I wouldn't talk no more.
Huh?
Look,
What? Sorry?
I know I promised you I wasn't gonna
Oh,
talk.
no, please, this is all a good discussion. So we want to ensure that we have a diversified board. So that, which is why we're listing, part of, a lot of, the things that we're gonna be discussing, those are the categories that we're discussing. A community association, those are just examples of, what would fall under a community association.
Normally, I list myself as a community activist, not a neighborhood association activist, because I don't deal with it. I deal all the way across every sector of this city. I'm just that way. I believe in everybody be treated good, right, and just. But if you're gonna limit me, you happen to be these things. But I'm just stating my points. And 258, it said the board shall meet no more than each.
Once a month.
Yeah. It should be at least, not more than.
We cancel, we take off once for holidays, usually that 1 month. So,
Yeah, well, we can do that, but the thing is,
Workshops,
if you have workshops, if you have an emergency meeting, according to this, you're not allowed to meet. Anybody understand what I'm saying?
Well,
I understand that.
But then there would be a workshop meeting, not board meeting.
But it'll be all of us, and that's
But
the
still,
meeting.
you just
Okay.
need a public notification that will be
Right.
more than one member of the board present at the workshop, but we call it the workshop, not the board meeting. Is that consistent with other boards? Because I believe it is.
It is, and is also consistent with the language, how the committee operated.
And this
Yeah.
this one is for you. C under 258. Talk to me.
Seat of two.
Majority of the members appointed to the board. So for example, my understanding is that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 members here.
Take
A
5.
majority would be 5.
Would be 5.
Correct.
Now, when you take 5, it doesn't say present. And we have gone through this thing where people by phone, are they count as a quorum or not?
It's
Your
not.
attorney says no.
Correct.
So you can have 5 members present, 4
Don't have to
here
be in
and
person.
one on the phone, then you don't have a quorum, but you got 5 people.
Can it be on Zoom, but you can't vote if you're on Zoom?
But it does
They
not
changed
constitute a
that.
quorum.
Did they change that, Ralph?
Yeah, in other words, I had a experience that I couldn't vote on something several months back, and then right after there,
They allowed.
they changed that.
So if you are remote, you can vote now?
That's my understanding, that's what I was told.
But I think it should be clarified and see whether we talking any member, whether they by phone or at the table, or 5 at the table.
For the purposes of the quorum.
For quorum, yes.
Yes.
That may already be
Yeah.
clarified by the city attorney somewhere without it being written into an ordinance.
Yeah, through the state statute too. Robert's rules.
Because I'm
I
sure
don't
this
think so.
this has come up
So
before.
that's something that I could definitely inquire with the
Okay.
city attorney's office. It's not necessarily a material change, so I don't think this is really gonna make or break this getting approved on first reading. But definitely, we could get a clarification from our city attorney's office and perhaps.
So they can vote as long as the person online can vote as long as there is an in-person quorum.
Are they counted as part of the quorum?
Yes.
Are they counted as part of the quorum?
The person online is not part of
So first of all, we need to get your name for the record, please, so that we.
Oh, that's Pauline.
Pauline Ricketts.
Pauline. Okay.
Do you think they'll change
And so what you're
2026?
saying, Pauline, is there has to be a quorum physically present. With that established, then somebody that is remote can then vote as well, even though they're remote. But they're no good for the purposes of establishing a quorum, correct?
Yeah, and as I understand it, that's based on state law. That was relaxed during COVID, for most of COVID. But again, that's set at the state level, and that was not, that exception was either not renewed or released or whatever, so.
So basically, a quorum has to be physically present.
Yes.
A physical quorum,
Yes.
and then if a physical quorum is met, then people attending virtually would be able to vote. If there's not a physical quorum, then there's not a quorum.
So we just add presence of,
I guess we could-
just to the beginning of that sentence.
I think that'll work. I'm just trying to keep us out of trouble, that's all.
I think this we're going to leave to Otneil to discuss with the city
Just add
attorney's
presence of
office.
right before the-
Because I'm imagining that this is pretty standard language in all the boards.
And mention, on section 4, back page.
Section 4.
Section 4.
Okay.
The ordinance.
Say that again?
The
Section
ordinance
4.
or part of ordinance in conflict herewith be and the same shall be repealed.
Yeah.
That's not good writing. I know it was done by an attorney, but it's not good.
Again, neither am I. What I've always been told, section
I
2 to 5,
just want you to bring it up, that's all.
it's standard language. It's standard language amongst all ordinances that are put forward to the city commission.
Yeah. I don't know what it means either.
We need a lawyer on the board, we don't have one. A what? We need a lawyer on the board, we don't have one.
No, we don't. No, really, one person.
Yeah, I agree.
Greg,
We don't really?
We never get anywhere.
So what it says
Well,
is
we're
that
very
this
close
document
with them, so
supersedes
we're attorneys. Yeah.
anything else that's
We'll be
written.
surprised how
Yes,
well we
yes, and that's good, that's good. I just want them to fix number 4, section 4, so that I after it says herewith, I have a problem with what the rest of that means.
Yeah.
Be and the same.
Right, anything else, Roosevelt?
No, sir. I appreciate your tolerance.
Anybody else? Otherwise it's me. So, I do have, small issues with the, that scope that I read out. I'm trying to find its, purpose and duties. Purpose and duties. So, the first one reads, to review existing city infrastructure. And I wondered whether to include in there, I'm putting this out for debate, to review existing city infrastructure and maintenance and improvement programs. Because what we're looking at is basically programs to maintain and improve the infrastructure. Whether that needs to be said, I don't know.
I don't think you do. I'd leave it generic. We can't include, I mean, also.
What's that? Can I talk?
Welcome.
I think it should be included for the following reasons. And I'll cite some, by way of example. I'll use examples to cite why. One of which I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you've driven on it, in and out of the plaza where there's the Fresh Market, 434 North Federal Highway. You can't get in and out of that place if there's a truck unloading in front of the restaurants safely. Okay? And I think that's wrong to allow that to continue to happen, because there's gonna be one day in the not too distant future. The other one has to do with, and they all have to do with roads, access, egress, and safety. Safety has to find its way in here somehow. The other one is the plaza where Trader Joe's is. That's another adventure every time you go in there.
So what do you think
Who designed them? How does that happen if it's not reviewed someplace?
Yeah, it is reviewed by the DRC, but your point is that
Swing and a miss.
when that happens, why can't we get into that and find out how something like that was allowed, right?
And I was searching for the way to have that happen as it relates to infrastructure, and you did it by saying, that's why I agree with your recommendation of maintenance, review and maintenance and upkeep, whatever else you said. Because safety should find its way in there somehow, somewhere.
That's not actually what I intended it for, but it does fit that description, I agree.
Can I hear yours again?
Yeah, so,
what you
reads, and I'll add to it, to review existing city infrastructure and maintenance and improvement programs, including, that is what I added, and maintenance and improvement programs.
Okay, and everything else, you wanna leave the same?
Everything else stays the same with one exception, which is what Martha brought up,
I love it.
including stormwater infrastructure, water and wastewater, sewer distribution, collection, after collection, and treatment systems. Sewer distribution, collection, and treatment systems. Everything else the same. So there's two changes there. To review existing city infrastructure, the change being and maintenance and improvement programs, including stormwater infrastructure, water and wastewater, brackets sewer distribution, collection and treatment systems, seawalls, roads and sidewalks. Now, Neil?
Yes.
We're going to propose those changes do we need a motion? Because I have changed to one other of these, bullets here.
From a process perspective, it would be better for me, so that way that you guys made a motion, so I could articulate that to the city commission at tomorrow's meeting. So far what we've said, other than everything looks pretty clean, other than the scope section.
We did have Marta's addition of treatment earlier on,
Correct,
which
yeah,
reflects
that's
back
part of
here.
what we're adding to the scope,
Yeah.
the treatment plans.
Yeah.
That would be the reference to it, to add to it. It shouldn't be a problem, again, I'm just
Well,
on
that's-
staff, so I would have to bring it up to
If we
my
can,
superiors.
we'll have a brief discussion on the process.
Yeah.
Now, it'd probably be cleanest to have one motion. So since I don't know that my proposal is universally accepted here, I'm not going to call for a motion, and maybe I can just have a show of hands as to those that agree with what changes I propose to A.
You do it by.
To A or B?
By consent.
Section B.
Say again?
You do it by consent rather than by motion.
I think
So
we're
to
ready to vote.
explain that to me, Ruth. Sorry, Martha.
You agree or disagree with your changes.
Yeah.
And if we all agree, then you can say.
But then it doesn't appear as a motion, right?
No,
On the minutes.
no. It's consent.
I think it's cleanest to have a motion. So I think, by sort of the show of hands, there's enough people that I could get that through the group under a motion. So with that said, I'm going to proceed to C, to provide a report with recommendations. Now, the problem I have with that is, this board is being set up in perpetuity. It doesn't say when a report should be provided. When we had a limited life, we were asked for a report in the past, well, we had to provide a report because we were going away at a certain date. But, you know.
So that would come into play, for example, let's say we're discussing a specific project and we feel very strongly about it, that it should be, for argument's sake, prioritized. Let's say right now we have, like we're going to our city commission with a list of the projects for phase 2 on 45 Lauderdale. Let's say as we go down the line, or even so as part of the consent orders, projects that, you know, we have a timeline of sequencing and things like that, and for whatever reason, some other issues have arisen and therefore priorities may change. There can be a recommendation from this board or this future board after a discussion to reprioritize a project or to make it more important or allocate more funding because of X, Y, and Z that has been identified or perhaps was not part of the scope. So at that point in time, don't think of it as a report that we need to like get together and actually write a report. It's make a recommendation to bring, because you guys are acting as the eyes and ears of the city commission. So if you guys see something, it's more so to bring it to their attention, so that way they can vote on it and provide direction to the city
I
staff.
didn't read it like that, Martha.
It can be like a paragraph.
Thank you, Chad.
Yeah, it could be a
Something
paragraph, it
simple.
doesn't have to be a report per se. Similar to what we've been doing when we send communications out to the city commission, it could very well continue to work that way.
Martha?
Thank you. So this is how I understood as, on
OT
your-
is fine, OT.
OT. So report doesn't mean the document. Report, we all doing report. It's kind of like a feedback.
Yeah.
And you can obviously we're expressing right now, it's documented in the minutes as a feedback, or we can write something and provide a recommendation, like email to the commissioners or memo. But I think if we limit ourselves to one, we're gonna miss an opportunity because there could be more than one needed through the year. So
Yes, but we may never. I've got used to, we've done at least 2 reports to the commission where it was called out for. Provide us a report on the feasibility of having a moratorium. We had to do a report on that and previously something else. So I read it like that. So this would mean, the way it's written, that this board could go on existing and they would never provide any sort of written thing to the city commission, ever.
You're right.
Because they're not required to.
You're right.
Jerry?
My inner Roosevelt. On this one, I read it, I did not read it as Martha did, I read it as it's mushy. You don't have to do one.
No, you don't.
You might get asked to do one,
You do it.
you might not. Should it have a little bit of teeth in it, like if you, as the chair of the commission or board, or not of the commission, but of the council or board, decide to write a report, can we submit one to the commission?
Yes.
But this language would allow for that.
It would, but it's kind of mushy because the when is missing. When do you do it?
When
When
is
we're
it, when it
asked,
comes?
We need it.
As it comes.
Also, something that we're trying to institute as a city is, we're gonna be bringing you projects or issues as they arise that we want your feedback on.
Correct.
We want a recommendation
And support.
to take to the city commission. So sometimes, like, especially in new initiatives that we may want to take onto the city commission, for it to get approved, we will bring those initiatives first through here, get your feedback, get either a motion in support or not in support, and then that would be transmitted to the city commission. As a communication to the city commission. So that in itself can constitute a report. So oftentimes, us as staff, especially things that we are all aligned, and how to take our city forward, we'll bring those to you guys, get your buy-in, get your feedback, and get your support to then go back to the city commission. Hey, by the way, the infrastructure task force board discussed this.
Yes.
They provided feedback, we went back and forth, and they're in support of it.
But I'd like to feel we were also monitoring what you're doing, and I'll give you an example. So, for example, we've been watching pretty carefully the sewer and water line breaks. Now, if we see that an increasing number of those, and that pattern goes on for months, then I feel like, quite independently from staff, we should be able to communicate with the commission and say, we are concerned that whatever is happening, and we might have identified things with the maintenance program and improvement program, it's falling behind because we're having this greatly increased number of breaks or something. That's the way I saw it operating. But I guess there's nothing here with the language as it stands that would prohibit us doing that, right?
And that's correct, and that's the intent of how it's written. We define, but at the same time giving some wiggle.
So I'll forget that change. Did you have something, Martha?
No, I think
Well,
we're
I've
ready
got something
for.
else, that's all.
So if I can just, for the record, kind of like what section 250, the request from the committee for section 257B, and then in turn 259A, it would read as requested. The board is created to review existing city infrastructure and maintenance and improvement programs,
Yes.
including stormwater infrastructure, water and wastewater sewer distribution and collection systems. We would add in there treatment plants,
And treatment.
seawalls, roads, and sidewalks.
Just treatment, not
And
plant
treatment
just
systems,
treatment.
it falls under the heading of systems. And treatment
Distribution,
systems,
collection,
like
and
collection
treatment.
systems.
Treatment.
See, collection and treatment systems.
Collection,
Distribution, collection, and treatment system.
treatment.
And I want to compliment.
What about
Lindsay.
incoming
What about?
and incoming?
Well, that would be under
Water supply?
improvements.
Incoming
That's,
projects
you
that will
mean,
impact areas. I know it's a little out of scope, but we could still give comment on how we feel.
Oh,
it would
because it says
impact.
existing
Yeah, it only says existing.
oh, you mean,
Stuff that's coming.
Oh, future.
and propose.
Yeah,
maybe.
propose, exactly.
Mr. Chair, what?
Yeah, I see.
just fine, let's just get,
Cause
sorry.
that impacts existing.
Or we could just say, created to review
No,
city
no.
infrastructure.
New and existing.
Existing and proposed.
Yeah, or existing and proposed. I like proposed better.
So what,
Yeah,
I
new
agreed
projects.
with what, Neil said. Do you want to add something else now?
Yes, it would be, the board is to create, it's created to review existing and proposed city infrastructure.
Yeah, good.
So it's to.
Oh, but it says to, the way the change reads is to review existing city infrastructure and maintenance and improvement programs. Well, improvement programs is new stuff. Or,
It's improving the old.
yeah, I
Not
think
the
it's
new.
covered there, personally. You can add it
Well,
if you want.
leave the change, you gotta cover it both ways.
Yeah, we're getting into weeds now.
Yeah, well, I know, but it's kind of important because the board, I've seen it before, in 2 years' time or something, then I won't be here and the board, a lot of new people on it, will refer back to the scope on something they're getting involved in. So it's kind of important that we sweat this bit. So one more time, to review existing city infrastructure. And you would like what added?
And proposed.
Proposed.
To review
Existing and proposed
city
city infrastructure and maintenance and improvement programs.
It's already implied, but
Well, we'll
it's not.
then
Just
it goes
'cause
on
it's in writing that we'll
stormwater
only do
infrastructure, water and wastewater, bracket sewers, distribution, collection and treatment systems, seawalks, roads, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Now I have one other thing under C. Forget about the how often to the reports. Provide a report with recommendation to the City Commission, and maybe I don't need these now where you've explained it to me, to the City Commission regarding improvement. Again, I was going to add there regarding improvement and maintenance priorities. It's not just improvement, we're looking at maintenance as well. As well as, it says, as well as financing alternatives. And I was thinking you should add as well as financing requirements and in alternatives. Because we could be saying to them, we feel like X, Y, and Z must be improved and it's new work and it's going to cost $50 million and you can either fund it out of the general fund or water and sewer, or we could apply for a grant, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at.
But would you wanna put the probability of how you finance into the ordinance itself? Or would you leave it at finance?
I think we're charged with looking, for example, somebody like Marta brings an expertise in her position of what she does. She may be aware of some grant program that has slipped the net,
Yes, but all I'm saying is that if she's aware of that, she can tell the commission or the city or the
That's when we
department
give the report.
what.
That's why I sit on this board, so I can tell it to you, Roosevelt.
I don't wanna know.
Well, I think this is good language because we may just request that all those improvements, say, build a wastewater plant, build this, build that, and the city, it kind of control our scope. It's like, yes, we can provide those recommendations, but let's be mindful and tell also the city how we're gonna pay for it, right? So kind of keep us under control. So I actually like it that it says that provides recommendation for alternative funding.
Yeah, it says that, but all the alternative is already out there.
Well, but that makes
It's
us
gonna
to
be
be more
bond,
creative,
general funds,
which is
or
fine.
you get it from the chair.
It could be the same, but
Well, it's possible
yeah.
that something big arises that the board in the future thinks is a high priority, and that somebody with some specialised knowledge says, you know what, it's probably worth applying for this or going to speak to so-and-so. And staff may feel, well, this board should not be making those regs, it's up to them to find the funding or something, I'm not saying that happens now. It never has happened while I've been on this group. But can you see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
It makes it more explicit.
I don't think they can just not listen to our recommendation, then and move on with what they're doing. But we still would put the recommendation of the alternative. Right? I don't think it treads anything.
Well, so what I had
Just a
was to
suggestion.
provide a report, which almost really should be reports, the way I'm hearing it out, to provide reports with recommendations to the City Commission. Regarding improvement and maintenance priorities. Is everyone good with that? Yes. As well as, it reads, as well as financing alternatives for said improvements. And I think I'm hearing that people think that pretty much covers it. Agree? Yeah.
We settle on, as well as financing requirements and alternatives?
No, we're going to drop that, keep it as it is, as well as financing alternatives for said improvements. Right? So, that's what I was going to say. Now, has anybody else got anything else on the draft ordinance? If not, I'll make a motion because it's simplest, because I got it written down in front of me.
Okay.
Marta?
Well, I just want to compliment the chair for adding maintenance and improvements programs. I think this is really important to include that in our review. And I want to, emphasize the fact that we're not operating still. Like we're not doing your operations, guys. I do appreciate your work as a utilities, as a public works. We're not here. We're just here to review existing, provide some maintenance and improvements priorities here. So I do want to compliment that. That it was a good idea because that may help overall the department if we need to.
That's good. That's why I get the big check.
Yes, you get a big check, big chair.
All right. So I'm going to make a motion that the infrastructure task force recommends amending the draft ordinance in the following respects. Section 2, 259A be amended to read, to review existing and proposed city infrastructure and maintenance and improvement programs, including stormwater infrastructure, water and wastewater (sewer distribution), collection and treatment systems, seawalls, roads and sidewalks, and additionally, section 259C be amended to read, to provide reports with recommendations to the City Commission regarding improvement and maintenance priorities, as well as financing alternatives for said improvements. That is the motion.
The only thing that I would add is also you're modifying section 259. You said 259A.
Yeah.
It also is 257B.
Yes, but you seem to think that was kind of a no-brainer, but we can add a 60.
Well, the scope is in two different sections, is what I'm saying. So they should be consistent, the same.
Okay, well then, if we pass a motion as I've made it, then wouldn't that be taken care of?
Yeah.
I mean, you make sure it's consistent.
Say this to you, Mr. Chair. You discussed an emotion that you put forward.
Agreed.
Without having a second to your
Yes,
motion.
agreed.
And taking feedback.
Yes, that's a no.
I'm just being proper, that's all. So, and for For the purpose of discussion, I second your motion.
Thank
Now
you.
you
So we
can
now we have a
discuss what
motion,
you
we
want
have a
to.
second.
So just so I'm clear, because I'm making the edits on the Word document.
Yeah.
The scope. The board is created to review existing and proposed city infrastructure and maintenance and improvement programs, including stormwater infrastructure, water and wastewater parentheses, sewer, distribution, collection and treatment systems, seawalls, roads and sidewalks.
Yes, and, that's not part of the motion.
Correct.
No, I'm
That's
just,
Yeah.
I'm just so I'm clear.
Yeah.
Once you guys do make your
That
motion.
would then correspond to the motion as made and seconded, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, any discussion with the motion? The motion.
The discussion is now, sorry, Roosevelt. The duties, section C, to provide a report with recommendation to the city commission regarding improvement and maintenance priorities.
I change that to provide reports, but go on.
Correct, reports, and then improvements
And
and
maintenance
maintenance
priorities.
priorities. I would like to break this down regarding improvements, maintenance, priorities, as well as financing, without
Regarding improvement,
comma,
maintenance priorities.
no,
Isn't it-
comma,
doesn't the-
priorities.
Doesn't the priorities apply to improvements as well?
Correct, but for instance, like Gerald just mentioned his frustration over the parking lot, or
Infrastructure as it pertains to safety.
correct.
That's the.
Infrastructure, unsafe infrastructure. So I think that would give us more venue to provide a report and prioritize some projects. Not necessarily improvements projects that may not be in the scope of the department or maintenance project, but let's say the board thinks this is a priority to fix the parking problem on Fresh Market. But if we break it, that would be as a priority of the board, not necessarily maintenance, not necessarily improvements.
So you're proposing an amendment to my motion whereby section 2259C reads to provide reports with recommendations to the city commission regarding improvement priorities, comma, and, all right?
No, you said improvement and maintenance priorities.
Yes, I did.
So I would like to break this. I would like to put improvements, comma, maintenance, comma, priorities, as well as finance.
Priorities are a separate category.
Correct. As an overall, catch it all.
Right, so it reads,
Control.
I'll read it again, not Neil. So to provide, this is Marta's proposed amendment to section C. To provide reports with recommendations to the city commission regarding improvements, comma, maintenance, comma, priorities, right? As well as financing alternatives for said improvements, right? So you're proposing that as an amendment. I would accept that as the proposer of the motion.
Thank you, Chair.
Have a friend.
Have a second, Roosevelt, of that amended motion.
We still have a
Yes,
discussion.
she accepted that.
Discussion, sorry.
Just a thought. Is there a way we can have it notified to us regarding zoning changes?
Regarding,
Zoning changes.
But hold.
it's
Cause I
not
know
our,
it's planning and zoning and they have to.
Well,
put
let's
notices out,
leave
and
it
that's
at
a little
the end.
separate, but just thinking in like putting in
Let's leave that at the end.
that's a different, but we can come
Just
back to
'cause
that.
We have a motion on the table, so
Yeah, yeah.
let's,
Okay, sorry.
let's not mix that.
Any
Okay,
further
thank you.
discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favour, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you.
Congratulations. Good,
So-
good job.
We have finished our review of the draft ordinance. Now we should briefly discuss the mechanics of this. have first reading of the ordinance we've just proposed a couple of changes to tomorrow evening. So my question is of staff, if these proposed changes to the ordinance are acceptable to staff, when would these changes be made and when would they be approved?
Those changes would be made between first and second reading, so we would put that on the record on first reading. And should the city commission be in support of those changes, then they would be reflected as part of the second reading.
And what will the city commission be told, if anything, tomorrow evening when they have the first reading?
So we would put on the record that there was a motion by this committee, amending section 257B and section 259A and C with those changes that we made, which is why I need to make sure that it's very clear.
So when you say they would be informed, I can't remember what word you used, that would be done verbally?
I would do that verbally myself, because as part of the memo, we did say that we would be sharing that the draft ordinance with you guys today, and that any feedback we would provide to them.
And then, but presumably, you won't say that unless you have run this by the city manager's office and the city attorney's office.
So I would share this information with the city attorney's office and with the city manager's office. Whether the administration it's in support or not of those changes is a different story. However, we will share that information with the city commission, because ultimately they would be the ones to decide.
Let's say hypothetically, either or both of those parties, there was something there they didn't agree with, right? Then the worst that could happen is that the whole draft minutes with the motions would be put with the second reading and thereby shown to the commission on second reading, correct?
Not
I'm
necessarily.
just talking hypothetically.
So the way it works, the only way an ordinance changes between first and second reading is if the city commission provides that feedback to staff. So we will share with the city commission what, the recommendation is from this committee. Now, it's a different story if the city commission accept that recommendation and then in turn direct staff, in this case the city attorney's office, to include that as part of the draft ordinance.
Seems to me there's two hurdles. There's city staff, specifically the city manager and the city attorney, and then secondly there's the city commission itself. If it fails at the first hurdle, you're saying that that's pretty much it, right? Because there's no point in putting it as backup to the second hearing, because you can't change the draft between the first and the second hearing.
You can change the draft between first and second reading as long as the city commission provides that direction. That's the.
Maybe they don't like. Well, maybe they don't like a change, but
maybe they don't like it, and they say they keep it as is. Again, the changes are not that drastic, so I don't see that happening.
Okay.
And whether the city administration, in this case, the city manager and or the city attorney, say they don't agree with your changes, again, it's up to the city commission. On whether or not those changes make it to the city code.
I appreciate that advice, and I'm amazed how quickly you've come up to speed with all this stuff. So, thank you very much. Very impressive, how much knowledge you already have of the city. I worked here for 20 years and didn't know as much.
City codes and stuff like that. I did that in my past life, and the process is pretty much the same everywhere.
Okay, so with that concludes that item. Now we're on to utility services update and the water and sewer
I have
rates.
a question still. The only reason I interjected during discussion was because does everyone else agree that zoning is important to what we're doing here? And I think
It can be.
it's very important because there's been a lot of zoning changes passed, and that's what's bringing all the development,
Yes.
which is bringing all of these problems.
But what I'd ask you to do,
So I
Lindsay,
think we should
is to
review
bring
that
that
too.
up. Can you, let's bring that up under general discussion and comments to keep to the agenda. Bring that up there. I know what you're saying, and I largely agree with that. Anything on the water and sewer breaks?
Yes. Near Oakland, right where the building is going,
Yeah,
right in front of the residential neighborhood, not really sure how that happened. And then on 84, down from Andrews, but they passed the Live Local Act, rezoned all of near Broward General. Broward General's buying up all the property, and they're gonna keep building, which I think we should have input on, because it impacts the area. That's already approved and done with, but
Yeah.
all that should be in discussion if it hasn't been already. Maybe that was before my time here.
I would think that, unless we are specifically asked to look at it, I don't think we have anything to do with it. That's between the city and
Well,
Broward Health and staff.
but the brakes.
Huh?
The infrastructure.
Well, they're not related. Obviously, the 84, there's a gravity stoppage, gravity line blockage. That's fats and oils. That's not related to the construction happening in that area. I don't see that construction is related to this.
no, I think that, again, Lindsay's point, is there anything else on this, then we can move to the correct
Correct, let's move on
agenda item?
agenda. Water and sewer breaks. I don't see any concerns.
I also
Actually,
was told that
congratulations,
the
very
cap
little.
came off near 17th Street and sewage is being dumped right now. I was told yesterday that the cap broke and sewage is being dumped all in the intercoastal right now,
Where, sorry?
Okay.
near 17th Street Causeway. I don't know if it's true, I haven't seen
Well,
anything
that
on
would be
it.
in a February report, right? That was yesterday.
Well, you do have, maybe, when they're at, we haven't had heavy rain, but just, when there's heavy rain and the treatment plant can't cope, you do bypass treated water to the intracoastal. But what you just said does not sound like that.
True, that's what I was told, so I just wanted to mention it. Keep an eye on it.
Well, let's ask staff. Todd, anything?
I'm not aware of any active sewer breaks.
Yeah, that's under my, no, there's no active sewer breaks. I think what you're experiencing is there's underneath the 17th Street Causeway Bridge, the north side by the Hilton, there is a water line leak that we're due to investigate next week. We need to stop. There's parallel lines going underneath from the east side to the west side. We're closing down the north one to see if that isolates the leak so we know which line it's on. So that's probably what you're seeing if you're talking about what's bubbling up underneath in the parking lot on that northwest side of the bridge. It's not sewer, it's potable water.
You mentioned cap. I still ask about the cap.
Cap.
Some information I was given.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably the manhole cover or
Like a
something.
cap, like the manhole's been coming up or the line's been.
I don't know.
We
See,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm
I
trying
can
to
get
find.
some more information.
Huh?
I'll get some more information.
Yeah, please. I'll be interested
I
to
just
see.
wanted to mention it.
So,
Okay.
So we can swim.
Can we go to the next item?
Sure. Thank you.
So let's talk about Lindsay's request that somehow we be allowed to consider zoning. So
Maybe just be notified of what's being requested.
zoning
because-
changes?
Yeah, I mean, they only have to put notices in the ground and you don't know unless you drive by or you're actively looking on there. So I think if we can be notified of what's incoming along with what we just
But we normally get
passed.
those type of large projects, we get notice from the staff.
Correct, and they
Staff
public
tell us
meetings.
what's going on.
But are those projects happening because the zoning already changed?
But there's a public meetings on the zoning changes.
Well, yeah, let's distinguish between zoning changes, which may precede a development application.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not entirely unreasonable that we do hear about significant zoning changes because, as I said earlier, the implication is that if you approve that zoning change, that you have the infrastructure there to handle whatever the zoning allows.
That's the perfect word, yeah. Yeah, if there's a zoning change, is there gonna be a future potential, is there a future potential impact on infrastructure?
Yeah.
As a result of that?
But I don't think
You know that.
you won't know from just a zoning change what the infrastructure impact's going to be until you know what the development's gonna be.
You could probably figure it out.
Right, because you know what the
If you go
zoning
from
is
residential
allowed
to-
Say
in.
go through the DSD process.
You do know if it's going to a more intensive, and for example, it goes to a more intensive land use, and we've sat here for a year and watched a number of breaks in that area or something, or backflows or something. Did you, Rhonda, did you have something there? I'll go to Ralph.
Yes, well, with all due respect, there is a board for planning and zoning.
Yes,
I think this is their job.
it's just,
Like,
it's not to
let's-
interject and approve any request, it's just to
And
to know,
To
so
know.
we can give a comment on what we think about the area, which is what we're supposed to do.
But they do seek the feedback from utilities or, you know, and like I said, that's with the upcoming developments. I don't think it's our purview to review that. So I just wanna be cautious. I don't wanna start doing parks and recreation jobs right now or planning and zoning. So I think we need to find our own space.
not what I'm
Yeah,
suggesting.
that wasn't the spirit of the request. The spirit of the request was just to know.
I
Not
agree,
review.
but there is a public notification and there are the meetings, and I don't think the city violates any public input when they're doing rezoning or the upcoming developments are coming. So,
You got your employee hound now.
Yeah, let's just say that.
and all
You know
those,
the tape recorder's on.
But all
Just say
those
it's not the most robust, get the information to the people who need it, city.
Maybe we could flip it and provide information to people who are making planning and zoning decisions. Maybe we could provide information and say, this area, we have limited capacity for water or limited capacity for sewer. Or we're already in dealing with, stormwater.
The trouble with that is if it in any way impacts the zoning, it doesn't, it has no effect on the zoning because the zoning assumes that it's there. It is true that when you go to a more intensive zoning, then you have the opportunity maybe for saying, well, unless you enlarge X and Y, we don't have the infrastructure. Ralph?
Basically, what I was trying to say is that if there's a zoning change to higher density, and you've got 6-inch diameter water mains out there and smaller sewer collection systems, I mean, that has to be taken into account before you get an approval for single family to go into a high density.
And again, that goes back into an earlier conversation today, was part of the review process that the city goes through with our modeling team, who is part of Public Works, however they sit at DSD, to review all those new developments and make sure that we have adequate capacity. But that's definitely something that we could discuss with staff and see what a happy medium is, and we can get back, we could continue this conversation perhaps in
There
the
is
next meeting.
something there in an upzoning, if that's the correct terminology, to a significant area of land has the potential to create an increased demand, which might or might not be caught at the specific review of the development stage.
So in my past experience, the way a rezoning occurs is because there's a developer that wants to do a specific project on a specific piece of land, and the zoning does not allow them to do that project. Therefore, they lobby the commission, they change the zoning requirements to allow them to build that category, that type of project. However, it's not specific to just that parcel of land, it's specific to the entire, zoning. But then oftentimes the city does not just go and upgrade, or change their zoning unless there's a request from a private developer. So they're usually tied hand in hand when it comes to that. But then again, if we can table that conversation so that perhaps we can get somebody else, perhaps from the planning and zoning department, DSD, to see what a happy medium would be and what their process is when they're reviewing those type of developments and those type of requests. That way we get a little bit more information and then we could have the right conversation as to what it is that we want.
OT, you should have been a doctor because you have a wonderful bedside manner.
True. Thank you. True.
Appreciate that.
I have an item for discussion for the next meeting, for the wastewater treatment plant.
For next time? Or
For the next time.
Well,
Maybe I keep it to myself for the next time. Well, I would like to
you can put
know,
it on the record.
I would like to know what's the plans for the biosolids for the wastewater treatment plant. I'm sure the folks already aware of the state bills that they pertain to biosolids disposal. Class B may be prohibited, so I would like to know what is the action items for the city, how we planning to deal with
I'll talk
that.
to you a little bit after the meeting.
I'm sure you do, Director, but I would like to know maybe next meeting or 2 meetings.
Yeah, we
What
can
was
take,
the
but
decision?
something just came up today that I just can inform you about.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Anything else? I got one thing for the information of the commission, the advisory board in the last meeting. On tomorrow's city commission agenda, there's a recommendation to hire a bond counsel because it says as follows: the commission is contemplating the issuance of 2026 bonds in a not to exceed amount of 451 million, with 330 million for stormwater funds.
Yes, that's to what I mentioned earlier, to fund the construction of the last project from phase 1 and initiate the design phase of phase 2 of Fortified Lauderdale. That's the 330.
So combined,
Can we get an update on the emergency funds next meeting? And what they're planning to do and allocate, and if any of it's.
You mean in the manager's budget, put some money
When
in?
Raquel came, she said there was the funding, but I don't know what they're doing with it.
Well, it's for emergencies, so.
Right, but have they spent something?
We don't have an emergency.
I know, I just wanna know what's going on.
Certain.
Have they used it for something else?
That goes on the record.
Just wanna know.
Don't forget, you're on an entirely new board. Oh, I have one other thing to do. This I've just remembered. So as on the subject of the new board, it would help Neil if he knew the people here already that are willing to serve on the new board. So let me just start.
And also, not just serve on the new board, but if you already are part of another board, you can right now, the code allows for you to be part of a board and a committee, but you cannot be part of 2 boards. Correct. So if you are part of another board, you have some decision to make. If you want to participate or be part of the other board, or be part of the new ITF board. So what I wanted to know is if there's, it would be because again, part of the discussion that'll take place after second reading would be appointing those new members. So it would benefit the staff to know if any of you guys here are already part of another board with the city of Fort Lauderdale.
Marta, first,
Yes.
willing and part of another board, yes or no?
Correct. Well, I'm also vice chair on the Parks and Recreation Board. And it's a tough choice. But I would be resigning from Parks and Recreation. I believe my expertise is more valuable to this board, and I kind of like this new management here.
Yeah, I'm gonna lobby you to stay here.
You don't have to. I would be accepting.
Staying on another board. You. Are you willing to? Oh no, you're not. You already told us.
No, I am at least for probably the first and second meeting. I don't know. That's my replacement over there.
Yeah. So your thinking at the moment is you would indicate that you would like to stay on.
I would definitely
There's
be here
a
for the
possibility you may
for the first
resign
meeting.
fairly early on.
I would,
And
yes.
you'll recommend not to us, but to whoever's making the decision that the Rhonda takes your
Yes.
They have to
place,
know.
right?
Okay.
Greg?
So later.
Greg?
Stay on.
Stay on, no other board. Who else we got? Lindsay?
Stay.
Yes?
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, and you're not on another board?
No. We don't even.
And you,
So
Chair?
So you got.
Oh, sorry.
Are you willing to stay? I would say.
yes, I suppose so.
Thank you.
I'll at least get
I
it
just wanna bring
started.
the director.
Okay.
If I have to
discussion,
resign.
and then everybody understands the process. So this is potentially the last committee meeting,
Yes.
so we might see each other as a board next time.
Thanks to everybody, let the record
Meeting
show.
adjourned.
Make those kind of
Appreciation
threats.
for everyone's service, and the meeting is
Thank you.
concluded.
All right then, Mr. Chair.
I'm gonna be calling you a board member, not the committee member.
Yes.
We are getting promotion. Good job on the conference.
Chicken noodle soup.
I watched.
Oh, yes.
Have a good one. Nice seeing you, everybody.
Sorry, we had a good conversation.
What's this one?
Sorry.
Neil. Can I have your direct line?
Yes, I had to look it up. This is another number yet.
Right.
954.
828.
Glad you didn't ask me to answer that question right now.
547?
Just met with,
3417.
the city of Sunrise.
This is important.
Consultants got a treatment
With
plan.
text,
Just today.
so that I can
I've
take
got the
your
same
number.
issue.
Just feel like
Coordinating for sludge disposal in Class B. And we're at the borderline.
Are you gonna be there tomorrow?
It's Double A. So if we get Class double A, we're in compliance with with the proposed state statutes.
So I'll be in the evening.
Yeah, it'll be in the evening, right?
No, that's.
Well, this is also on.
Yes, but
No, right now we are trying to replace our presses to get more moisture out of them right now. It's the temperature that we're worried about. Yeah, that's what we're exactly. You know, to work with the ionized design and all that stuff. Create that type of- So,
The trouble is, you never quite know.
there, yeah, that's right, exactly, my heat's the only thing.
TV or
Because we don't have solar for-
I will take that out of order.
No, that's fine, but I'll make sure that
No, I know we are.
we'll put that on the record.
It's a bit warm.
Yeah, we're not gonna, we can't do it.
Things will be
We have to
colder.
move it someplace else now. The county has got a plan, but they're trying to organize this. The guy who used to work here is trying to have organize a centralized sludge disposal, sludge processing facility. Because he works for Broward County Water and Wastewater Services. But the issues he's coming in, exactly what you're talking about, is each treatment plant has a different quality of sludge. So how do you mix those and make a constant quality that you can market for some type of either whether it's land disposal, it's fertilizer, or anything. But it's just.
But the drying beds, they give you that option that you pretty much.
But it's the, so where GTL only processes through the filter press without any, that just, where Broward County. Yeah, but Broward County has digesting capacity, so does the South region in Hollywood has digest capacity. So now you have at least 4 different sources of sludge that have different quality coming in. So how do you make that more uniform? That's the
That's a
issue.
discussion with the Broward.
That's what the discussion. That's a discussion that's happening right on the staff level.
But not with the Sunrise, with the Broward County.
Well, Sunrise and us are getting together about trying to figure out how we can make our sludge more compatible. It just happens to be a side conversation, having to do
The
with the.
Sunrise is.
So we, if we can make it compatible with what they
But I
want.
think that's a conversation with the Broward County. What I understood, the Hollywood is a backup, Broward County for them. Even Hollywood is considering, because they're only using lime. They're not really having a heat application. They don't have a drying bed. That's a very expensive process.
Correct.
And you still have to be water out of disposal. So.
It's all, yeah, the whole new legislation is put a new gap.
That legislation is pretty serious. I see this happening. It's a huge lobbies in Tallahassee, and they extend only 2 years for us. What that means, we don't even can go through the design on your own.
No.
And
So,
2 years, it's not even. We don't have a money. We don't have a designing process. But what is happening in 2 years? We did ask because if they pass, it's flying through the committees.
Mhm.